Combat aviation is not a spectator sport. You have to be fully engaged. In the year 1967, U.S. pilots in Vietnam saw over 3,000 surface-to-air missile engagements like the one I've depicted on canvas. On this episode, I'll give you a walk around of the combat-tested RF-4C and talk about some of its unique features. Then I have a fantastic interview with the gentleman who was in the front seat of the RF-4 depicted in this painting. That's followed by my ever-improving art process, such as it is, including the time lapse. To sum things up, I've put together something special. To the best of my ability, I've reenacted the cockpit audio of the event, and it just might raise your pulse a bit. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get things going. Welcome to Brush with Flight. The F-4 Phantom is a low-wing, twin-engine, supersonic Mach 2 Plus ripper of an airplane. The dimensions, 63 by 38, make it just a couple feet shorter than the F-14 I used to fly, and a good bit more narrow. Basic airframe weight of 29,500 pounds checks in at about 10,000 pounds lighter than that aircraft as well. There's been some debate over the years as to whether it's an ugly aircraft or not. Well, combat aviation is not a beauty contest, and this just looks like a bad hombre to me. The aircraft behind me is the reconnaissance variant of this aircraft, and it is the focal point of the incredible, true-life, hair-raising story that I'm going to tell you today. I'm going to take a walk around, and we can look at the specific features of this aircraft. This RF-4C obviously shares basic airframe commonality with the other F-4 variants. However, it's missionized for the reconnaissance mission. Most notably, the nose has been extended and the larger air-to-air radar of the other fighter models has been replaced with a smaller ground mapping radar. This allows the installation of the three primary surveillance tools. You have three camera stations. Up front, you have the forward camera station. Behind that is the low altitude station with windows on the sides and the bottom. And then behind that, there's the high altitude station. Numerous different camera sets could be installed in these stations, depending on what the mission requirements were. Then there's also the side-looking airborne radar, which is a ground mapping radar, whose antennas are flush with the sides of the aircraft. And then the third piece of surveillance equipment was the infrared detection set, which was installed on the belly of the aircraft right behind the nose wheel well. The Phantom had a two-man crew configured in a tandem seating configuration. Throughout the years, the rear crew member went by sort of numerous different names. He was the rear seater, he was the navigator, he was the guy in back, he was the WISO, which would be the weapons systems officer, and in today's case, he was called the PASO, the pilot systems operator, who was a qualified pilot in the back at the time of the flight we're going to talk about today. Somewhat unique to the F-4, with this tandem configuration, you had two separate canopies, one for the back seater, one for the front seater. And that kind of looked cool as you're taxiing in and out. You'd have two separate canopies up there. That was a little unique looking. I kind of liked it. Forward of the engine inlet, you'll see the large square vertical splitter plates, which separate the rough air flowing near the fuselage from the clean air, which is what we desire to go down the intake. And about halfway back the vertical splitter plates, you'll notice the vertically hinged ramp, which helps to optimize the airflow down the intake throughout the entire flight envelope. This aircraft is configured with 3 drop tanks and no weapons. That's right, unarmed. Speed is life. That's how the aircraft was flown in Southeast Asia. Pure reconnaissance. Moving down the leading edge, you can see that the F-4 does incorporate a dogtooth design. That notch right about here. In sweeping aircraft, there's a tendency for the air to flow down the length of the wings span-wise inboard to outboard instead of straight across it. The dogtooth introduces a vortice or swirl of air, which counters that direction of flow and improves the lift, handling, and stall characteristics. This essentially eliminates the need for the stall fences that we'd seen in earlier model jet fighter aircraft. And on the back of the wing, we have another unique feature of the F4, and that is the blown flaps. When the flaps are down, 17th stage bleed air is blown down across the top of the flap. That makes sure that the air stays attached to the wing a little bit longer, and you maintain better control and have greater lift. But because the flaps are up here, obviously we're not going to see much of that. So I hope we gave you enough of a description so you have an idea what's going on with the blown flaps. And on the back side here, we have the variable area exhaust nozzles of the J79-GE-15 motors. That's a beast of an engine producing 10,900 pounds thrust at sea level and 17,000 pounds thrust per motor in full afterburner. The downside of that J79 is that it is a very smoky motor. When the F4 is nose on, you're going to see that smoky dot out there probably twice as far as if it were just the aircraft and no smoke. But for these jets out there, and you're not going to sneak up on anyone. To mitigate this, you can set the throttles to min burner if you have the gas, and that smokiness would go away. So you probably noticed as I did the walk around, I never discussed the upturned outboard panel of the wing. Well, it's time. One of the enduring questions about the F4 is, why does it have dihedral to turn up on the outboard wing and the super cool looking anhedral or downturn on the horizontal stabilizers? There's a lot of conflicting information out there on the internet, but I think I've dialed into the NASA approved answer. This is a bit of a tail wagging the dog scenario. With the horizontal stabs positioned above the engine exhaust, it puts them right in line with disturbed air coming off the wing at certain angles of attack. This results in a non-linear pitch feel and performance profile, which means at different angles of attack, the inputs that you make on the stick are going to give you different results in the pitch of the aircraft, and that's just not acceptable. To correct this, the engineers introduced 23 degrees of anhedral to the horizontal stabilizers. Now they would see clean air on much more of the angle of attack spectrum, smoothing out the pitch performance. Well, you never get something for nothing designing airplanes. And here's the tail wagging the dog part. If there's any yaw introduced to the aircraft, and there always is, the anhedral of the horizontal stabs will produce a slight rolling moment affecting the overall lateral stability of the aircraft. To counter that, the outboard wing segments, which by the way were designed to fold for carry operations, well, they are lifted up 12 degrees to counter the anhedral of the super cool looking horizontal stabs, and that'll bring the lateral stability back into balance for the aircraft overall. And just one or two more things to point out here. As we've gone around the airplane, we've probably seen these yellow stripes that are on the sides of the airplane and on the wingtip. And those are lights. Those are actually called strip lights, and they're utilized for lighting up the airplane, at least those small pieces of it, so that your wingmen at night have the ability to have reference points and fly formation off you. Just consider that the rest of your lights are probably going to be off if you're in a combat situation, because you don't want to be flying around with your lights on, obviously, where everybody can see you. So strip lights will be on, and they'll be set at a fairly low state. And I also wanted to point out a couple of the radar warning receivers, and you can see them kind of contained within these blisters here. Those come into play throughout this event today. Those little antennas are listening for threat radars. And today, as we talk about the SA-2, those little antennas are going to be picking those things up and presenting them to the pilots on their radar warning receivers and in their headsets. This is going to wrap up the walk around of the amazing, combat-tested, brutish, ugly, well, it's complicated, RF-4C Phantom II Hey, it can't be that ugly. Both services utilized it for their flight demonstration teams for a lot of years. All right, well, that's some pretty thorough coverage of the hero of this story. I'm going to take just a minute or two to talk about the villain. I'm going to cover the SA-2 Guideline missile. I think as I go through this, you'll understand just a bit more what's going on in the cockpit as this event unfolds. The SA-2 entered service in the late 1950s, and notably, it shot down a CIA U-2 piloted by Francis Gary Powers in the Soviet Union in May 1st, 1960. It deployed to North Vietnam in April of 1965, and the first shoot down of an F-4 was on July 24th, 1965. And here are the specifications of the SA-2. You can see that this is a very large missile. At 35 feet long, it was known as the flying telephone pole by U.S. pilots. The blast fragmentation warhead alone weighs 195 pounds, which is about the weight of an entire Sidewinder air-to-air missile. This is going to give it a significant lethal radius. So close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and SA-2 missiles. It operates by a command guidance system, and unlike the kind of missiles that are out there today that operate in the end game almost like autonomous air sharks, if you will, this missile took guidance from the launch all the way until intercept from its command center. So it's a slightly different way of operating. It's a basic missile very early in the development of surface-to-air missiles. I'm going to greatly abbreviate this depiction of the SA-2 command structure, but I do just want to make sure you understand what the radar, homing, and warning gear, the raw gear, indications are going to be coming from this site. In position 1, the Kodak flight has detected the spoon rest search radar. This has been detected by those blisters that I pointed out in the pre-flight walk-around. A tone is relayed to the headset of the pilots, and it sounds like this. At this point, you know you're being looked at. In position 2, now the fan-song guidance radar is continuously illuminating the RF-4. The crew hears the missile alert tone at this time. Things are getting really interesting now. In position 3, raw gear has now detected missile guidance signatures coming from the radars on the ground, and it now gives you a missile launch tone. It's continuous and sounds like this. As you can imagine, that tone is a real attention getter, and the crew is now focused entirely on missile defense at this time. So now you understand what the raw tones mean and what they sound like. That's about all the coverage I wanted to give to the SA-2 today. But let's not forget that SA-2 could be extremely lethal if undetected. And if it is detected, a crew needs to take appropriate and immediate action if you hope to survive that engagement. It's my pleasure to have with me today retired Air Force Major Donald H. Cowdrey. Major Cowdrey is a highly decorated fighter pilot who saw significant combat operations in Vietnam. Flying the reconnaissance variant of the legendary F-4 Phantom, the RF-4C, Major Cowdrey would certainly put to test the recon motto, unarmed and unafraid. Welcome, Mr. Cowdrey. I've been looking forward to having this conversation with you ever since I spoke with your grandson about it and he told me your story. So we'll welcome on the show today.
Good to be with you.
Just want to get a little background here since we're talking about aviation. How did you get started in aviation? What piqued your interest? And what was your path to the F-4 Phantom?
Well, I've been ate up with flying ever since I can remember. So aviation was the only direction I could go. And tried the Air Force Academy a couple of times, didn't make it. I was pretty weak student. But I joined up when they needed pilots during the Cold War. And if you could spell pilot, you could be one.
Yeah, you sound maybe a little like me. I was an aviation officer candidate school guy. Yeah, those academies were beyond my reach for sure. I used to fly over right over top of Annapolis, and guys would ask me, "Hey, you're a Navy guy. Did you go to the Navy Academy?" I said, "No, other end of the universe, San Diego State."
I got reconnaissance, went to the B-66, the RB-66. I guess that's the same airframe kind of as the Whale. The,
Oh, is that right? Okay, yeah, that didn't sound familiar to me, but similar to the A3.
I love the airplane, but I wouldn't want it to go to war in it.
Right, like ours, no ejection seat.
Well, no, we had an ejection seat,
Oh,
but
you did? Okay. Our
learned
Navy ones did not have ejection seats.
never seeing that. No, that's scary. And then after a year and a half of that, we went to F-4s. So I got trained back at Shaw and went to the F4, RF-4, and then I got my assignment to Southeast Asia. So my base I was going to was Udon in Thailand.
Walk me through what would be a normal reconnaissance mission from, like from tasking and what profile you would fly, that kind of thing.
Well, we had two. We flew day and night, and if you recall the RF-101 day only, and we were trained to be down going fast and down, low as you wanted to go, a couple hundred feet, going like hell. But it turned out that the F-101s were doing that to begin with before we went over there, and they got their ass handed to them. Um, it's pretty fast, but you got a whole lot of guns pointed up. One of
Right.
the golden BBs is going to get you, and they had a pretty high loss rate. So when we went over there, we learned some lessons that they learned the hard way. So
Okay, so your profile changed. How you're going to fly that mission?
day missions were go like hell, and with two wing drops, we could top out at 660, which I'd seen many times, and that's
Right.
going fast. But we went up to 15,000, put you out of the small arms. That kept us pretty safe, relatively speaking. And and then at night, we did uh, on the deck as much as we could get. And explain the sensors to you. We had a camera that had a rotating prism, and it would take 4.5 inch film, and it went horizon to horizon. So you could choose any place you wanted to see on that. It was a wonderful camera. You could not run the overlap, so it was probably the main camera we had. But we had two looking out the side, one in the chin looking out forward, and one behind that, a framing camera looking straight down. So we had cameras pointing in all directions, and then we had a IR sensor that actually, um, when we flew at night, we went into did it with the IR sensor, and we could fly, as low as we had the nerve to fly. The valley up there, once you got into North
Right.
Vietnam, it was fairly flat, and the image that you got from the IR was pretty darn good. It's almost a photographic quality.
Right.
And then we didn't use them up north. Our sister squadron down in Tazanut, they had photo flash cartridges, which we ejected from the airplane, and then just like a boom, they'd go off, and the camera would take that picture. Yeah, it was just a few-minute flight from Udorn to a bend in the Yukon where um, uh, Bien 10 was, and updated our inertial, and then headed north.
So some of it is maybe pre and post strike reconnaissance kind of
Exactly.
work.
Yeah, pre and post strike, and then there are others, uh, what we call route recce, where you fly along a road or a railroad or a river and just fly
Right.
along it, and then they can see if there's traffic.
So they're looking for troop movement and that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay. And then maybe was there some Ho Chi Minh Trail kind of work that went there as well?
that was more over in Vietnam, below the DMZ. That's where our
Okay.
sister squadron was. But I flew all north, 100 missions in the north, and got my trip home after that, and turned out to be about 6 months. Went over there in October of 66 and got my 100 missions in the spring. So I came home in uh, end of April of 67. So
Wow, 6 months for the 100 missions. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we were flying all the time. And we lost some airplanes, certainly. In fact, we mainly halfway through our my assignment there, we started flying two ship because there are too many situations where they'd go out and they just wouldn't come back, and you had no idea what happened to them, where they were, or
Oh,
anything.
is that right? Okay.
And of course, if you're flying at night over Laos and parts of Vietnam, that's mountainous terrain. And
Right.
our airplane had a terrain following radar that actually you could actually follow the terrain. You know,
Right.
we practiced with it in the daytime. It worked good. Still pretty scary to be
Oh,
that
no, no doubt.
it's black, but you had to trust. And the terrain following radar was certainly helpful. My backseater, Andy Peliquin, God rest his soul. He kept me out of the dirt and cool guy. And that second guy is worth its weight in gold. But
Yeah.
we
Was he crewed with you the whole time?
yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
so you guys are paired up.
And we flew out together all the time. But it would take him a couple or 3 hours to draw his map. And of course, as you know, with radar, you got to do the shading of the ridges, which is what your radar sees. And he would draw that thing up with his Sharpie, and because that's what he was doing. He was on the radar
Yeah.
flying that thing at night. There were a lot of people that did not like to fly in the daytime. They
Right.
preferred flying at night. And so
Oh,
we
is
would,
that right? Interesting.
I flew about 60, 40, 60 in the daytime and 40.
Right.
And the advantage of the daytime is you didn't see it. It was coming up. You didn't see it. Now, the fighter guys, when they were diving into a power station, they saw those tennis balls coming up, and
Right.
it's just mano mano on the main street of Dodge City. So, but I didn't have to do that, thank God. We went like hell, and we didn't go after pinpoint targets as such. We just used the inertial and the time and distance from what our flight planning showed. But
Right.
for 15,000, we had a much better, as opposed to down the deck, which with the way we trained, you only had a pretty small spotlight. But when you get up to 15,000, you can see quite a bit of, space.
Right.
So the PIs, the photo interpreters, could take that film and do magic with it and find the targets and what condition they were in and that kind of thing. So
So it sounds like single ship wasn't always what you did. You started flying multi-ship missions
yes.
in the daytime. At night, that gets difficult because you don't want to fly around with your lights on. So that then you're
Oh,
back flying single ship again, I imagine, at night.
yeah.
We've covered a lot of background here. So we're going to move on just a little bit here, and we'll start focusing on the mission that you're out there that we've got the photos of, and the one where we're dodging surface to air missiles out there. Um,
Well,
at
luckily it was only one.
Okay, exactly. It's hard to fight two missiles, that's for sure. Roughly how many missions had you flown up to this point of this mission?
I think it was about three-quarters of the way through my tour.
Okay,
So, you know, 60, 70 missions or so prior to that. And we'd never seen a SAM before. This is a SAM-2. And of course, nowadays things are quite a bit different. The SAM-2 was it was designed, in fact, when they did the B-52s at the end of the war, trying to get the Vietnamese to the table. B-52s went in there and they got their ass handed to them with the
right,
same. They got a lot of them because obviously straight and level, not a lot of maneuvering, and they could really do a number on those. Of course, they had the good jamming, which helped, but so they lost a lot. But we were a lot more maneuverable, and the SAM-2 was not very maneuverable. So basically, if you could see it, you could basically just watch it and maneuver out of its way. Now, I've heard
Right.
stories about the four guys that were dealing with dozens of missiles in the air at one time, and that would
Oh
be
yeah.
horrendous because you're pointing out missiles, break right, break left.
Yeah.
So that would be scary. But the one I just dealt with one.
That's one's plenty. Let me interject here for just a second here. Um, we know not all combat missions are the same. Um, they don't all have the same level of trepidation, anxiety, adrenaline, sweat. But on some missions, it's like someone reaches in and turns the combat volume knob up to 11. And you got to take the lid of a trash can and try to keep all that tucked away in your brain just so you have enough brain space left to fly your mission. Um, what did you think going into this mission? Where did this one fall in the milk run versus suicide mission scale?
Well, it didn't present itself any different than any other day mission. And as I've said, you can't see the AAA coming up. So you know it's there. And as I said, they didn't concentrate on us as much as they would, fighter group coming in to bomb.
Right.
But you knew it was there, but you just kind of ignored it. And so that mission that they got the missile shot at me, at us, we didn't think anything more of it. And I can tell you, because it's somehow things like that, you kind of remember it vividly, probably because you go over it and over it in your lifetime. But um, this mission that we were assigned is a town of Vietri. I looked that up again to make sure that was right. Vietri. It was in kind of the western part, maybe west of Hanoi, the best I can recall. And we had the assignment was a route recce, a road that came out of Vietri going east, a road railroad, and a route recce is, as it sounds like, you're going down the route, see if you can see, or not see, and we can't see anything from 15,000, but the cameras are shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just to collect combat intelligence to see where the troops are, see what's going on
yeah,
there. Yeah.
and road traffic. But this road was about where we're going to fly straight and level was about 3 minutes long. And so we turned over Vietri and flew down the road. Now, my wonderful backseater. Well, first we got on the raw gear. Of course, you get the sweep. They're sweeping everybody, but then you see the narrow one show up with a little bit louder tone. Is when they're actually looking at you.
Right.
They're concentrating. There's an airplane there, and this we're looking at, and we were probably about halfway through our run, and then it goes to the higher pitch when they actually want to lock onto you,
Right.
and then after that it's the launch. So
Okay. I'll stop you there for a second.
okay,
Um, I have some amazing black and white photos that you sent me, and we're going to take a look at them. And while we do that, we can talk through what was going on there.
okay.
But I just wanted to add, do you listen to country music?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite, I'd say.
Okay, great. Have you heard maybe the song "In Color" by Jamie Johnson?
Oh, I'm familiar with the fellow.
It's about a 10-year-old song or so, and the video of it shows an older man sitting with his grandson looking through some old photos, right?
Yeah.
And these photos are black and white. And one of the taglines for the song is "You should have seen it in color." And obviously, what that means is not just you're looking at a color picture, but you should have been there, right? You should have felt what I felt and seen what I seen, and lived it in color. So for today, we've got some black and white photos, and you're here to provide the color. What it felt like to be in the front seat of that F4 on that day, staring this down. We're going to get on with the photos here, and we'll talk about dodging some surface-to-air missiles. So, Mr. Cowdrey, what are we looking at in this photo here? Could you kind of describe where we're at?
Well, as I was saying, the raw gear was showing some interest in us, and then a lot of interest in us, and then we were um, being locked on, and then the next is the launch signal,
And the
and
difference is maybe you've got some chirps and beeps going on in your headset,
yeah, yeah.
and then that tone changes when they're continuously illuminating you. Did you also have a visual display, direction of arrival, like to help you see where it's coming from so you can look?
Oh yeah, the raw gear is like a 3-inch steam gauge that's got a um, strobes that come on in the direction of the radar activity. And this was locked onto us, and they were at 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1:30 maybe. And
Okay.
so we were looking in that direction, obviously. That allowed us to, of course, and mainly it was at the beginning, it was Andy, because Andy saw the launch cloud before I did.
Okay, so the cloud of dust that gets kicked up is right over here.
Yep.
Okay, so he's going to catch sight of it out of his small windows, let's say. They're pretty small in the back by comparison.
Yeah.
Um, does he talk your eyeballs onto it, or how does it go from there?
Well, I didn't see it for a while, and we continued on the last, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds or so. Um, and then Andy, at some point after the launch, he actually found the missile, which of course is trailing a pretty good exhaust flame. And so he actually found the missile. I still didn't have it in sight uh, until later as it got closer.
Okay. And this camera that took this picture, which one is this?
So that'd be the nose camera probably.
Okay. So this is off of your 1 to 2 o'clock, and you see this. And
Yeah.
then let's see, your wizard there, Peso, he catches sight. And did he say he was able to talk your eyes onto the missile at some point?
Yeah, he was saying, seeing, well, he was saying, don't you see it? Don't you see it? It's 1 o'clock low. And
Right,
I
right.
finally picked it up.
Are you seeing picture number two there?
Yeah, I see the Sam.
Okay. So now we definitely have it in sight. Let's see. We're somewhere, it's a boost sustained engine on that. It's like 5 seconds of boost and about 20 seconds of sustained rocket motor. And what I kind of see is it's not smoking very much. I kind of thought there'd be a bit more of a trail of smoke coming out of that,
The You see the exhaust, right? And then of course you can make the missile out also.
just to display the obvious there. That bright light in the forest shouldn't be there. That's the missile coming up to you.
Yeah.
So as it's coming up now, what are you thinking about defenses? What capabilities do you have for that?
Well, let me employ my airplanes here.
Yeah, yeah.
The missile's coming up 1 to 2 o'clock low, and I've seen it by this point. And of course, the thing that you're trained on is to let it get close enough that you can outmaneuver it. You don't want to turn too early so it can turn with you. So you just let it get as close as you dare, and then any hard maneuvering from the airplane is certainly going to outdo its turn radius. So it's pretty much out of the picture. But what we did is I saw it down low, and we lowered our wing to see it. And then as it got closer, I pulled hard up. And of course, from that point, the missile was basically defeated because it couldn't come up with us. And then I rolled over the top, and that's where I saw the missile as it went by. We saw it go by, and so it went on off. Didn't
Okay.
didn't get us.
We
It's
called that last ditch maneuver that you performed there. What we called that was the orthogonal roll. Does that ring a bell?
No, I don't recall that, but
It's kind of like doing a barrel roll around the
that,
missile.
that's pretty much what I did. Here it comes, and I'm up like that over it and able to see it. And by this time, it's going that way. and continued around, and and then it uh, went by us.
Right. So that probably wasn't close enough to fuse off of your airplane, I'm guessing. When did it explode and what were the effects of that? Did you hear it, feel it?
No, no, it was quite a bit because when we were going pretty damn fast, and with a 4, 5, 6G pull, which I'm sure I did, you can separate quite a bit of air between you and the missile because it just did not have the turn radius ability to
Right.
mask it all. So we're gone. The one that'll get you is the one you don't see.
So referring back to what I talked about earlier, that combat volume knob, how's that turned up about now? Are you about up to 11 on that?
Well, we were talking in high-pitched tones, but it, it was quick. It was over in the time that we saw a launch light till it was beyond us. It was less than a minute.
Yeah.
So
So was anyone else with you during that? Another aircraft? Was there another aircraft?
we were still doing single pilot
Still
or single
single.
craft. So no, it was just me by ourselves.
Right. So you're alone, unarmed and unafraid, not just unarmed and unafraid, but alone, unarmed and unafraid, huh?
And alone, unarmed, and scared.
I've got a little bit of that. I understand. Unafraid, all right. We're going to test that piece. Okay, and here is number three
Yeah,
of the sequence of photos.
and that was the automatic detonation of the.
Okay. So what I see here, the big difference between this picture and the other ones is that you're much, much lower here.
Yeah, yeah, probably did head for our maneuvering probably took us down a ways. Yes.
Right,
Of course, that was some of their tactics, was to actually shoot missiles and bring you down to where the AAA could get a hold of you. So it's an
right.
expensive tactic, but you obviously would head for the deck when these missiles were coming. So that would put you into a
Put you into
750
the whole new threat zone, whole new threat area. Oh, the ZSU.
CSU, yeah, the 3757 quads, and some of them are radar guided. So you're putting a lot of lead up. And so if you're 15,000, they were pretty well played out, and not all the way, but they didn't have the aiming abilities that it did down low.
So if they bring you down low like this, now you've got to find hopefully not populated areas to fly over and work on your egress and RTB.
Yeah.
Okay. So how'd you find out you got these pictures? How did that go on? You get back to your base and uh,
Well, when I got back to we got back to the base, of course, we were big heroes because that was the first SAM-2 that anybody had seen. I don't know if any of the fighter guys were getting SAM at all. I don't know, but it might have
okay.
been real early in the SAM-2's deployment. But it was a couple or 3 days before the PI, photo interpreter guy, came and gave us big pictures of the he said you might want these. Hey, the fighter guys who I look up to because they actually went into harm's way.
Oh
And
yeah.
they knew why you were there, and they were going to do their damnedest to make sure you didn't go home. And whereas the recce guy, I mean, obviously they would shoot at you if they could, but they're not going to like waste ammo on one particular airplane. Except in our situation, I'm sure they're sitting down there in the hut saying, "I think we got a guy going straight here. Damn, he's still going straight.
We got this straight and level guy.
We got this guy."
Well, thank goodness that you had your raw gear and your peso in the back picked up sight of it. Because an
Yeah,
unobserved shot like that would have a much different result.
yeah. Well, those that raw gear certainly kept. I don't know if it's still the same kind of thing, but if you know the missile's there somewhere, you can probably defeat it. But if you didn't know it was there, next thing you know, you'd be in flames going down. In fact, as I said, whole life has been kind of couldn't have designed it. If I would have sat down and designed it, I couldn't have done any better.
Great. Right place at the right time with the right attitude. That'll get you there.
Yeah.
Well, Major, it's been my pleasure speaking to you today. I thank you very much for telling me your story. I've been looking forward to it ever since I flew with your grandson, Barrett.
Yeah.
And I hope to be able to turn this event and capture this in an oil painting. And in some way, I'm going to try to turn this event into a life in color, like we talked about a little while ago. And thank you so much for being here today with me.
Well, I appreciate the visit with you and the chance to tell my story again.
Yeah, it was a pleasure hearing it. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Major Cowdrey. He's a true gentleman. He represents so many military pilots out there who, in the face of adversity, routinely demonstrate the courage to accomplish their missions and who emerge as humble American heroes, regular Americans doing extraordinary things. That's Major Cowdrey's story, alone, unarmed, and unafraid. All right, it's time to move on with some painting here. As I begin my painting process, I want to go through the game plan that I've got to translate this incredible story over to the canvas. I'm going to start that with a couple of thumbnail drawings to try and secure the composition that I'm looking for. Now, first of all, what it has to capture is the dynamic maneuvering of that RF-4 aircraft as it's conducting its missile defense. Secondly, I want to have the ground and the background identifiable as that area coming out of Viet Tri, that small city to the north and west of Hanoi. Coming out of that, there's a railroad track, there's a roadway, and obviously the Red River has a big bend right there. And thirdly, and most importantly, I want to make sure I capture that SA-2 missile from launch, kicking up dust, and follow its trajectory all the way up till it passes behind and ends up above and is detonated behind that F4. So I'm going to try and capture that all in the painting. And with all those criteria, that's pretty much setting up what my composition is going to be. I started off with some rough thumbnail drawings just so I could play with some composition ideas. I moved on to a model with a canvas in the background to get the aircraft aspect that I was looking for. What I wanted was him coming over the top in his barrel roll brake turn around the missile. I printed the last photo off, did some rough background drawing, and added the frame size I was looking for. Then I took this photo into Word, I increased the size, and printed it on 4 pieces of paper. I cobbled them together, positioned it on my canvas, made the transfer happen with carbon paper, blocked it in so I can find the lines after the background gets applied. And then I was ready to go. Next thing I had to do was take a look at the background and try to fix how I was going to accomplish the background painting with the proper perspective. I initially thought I was going to be using a single point perspective, a single vanishing point out there on the horizon. But with the way those farmers' fields are laid out, I decided to go with a 2-point perspective. What I did was anchor the 2 points of the grid basically to the edges of where my canvas would be on that horizon line. This will build in the horizon tilt, and it'll also give me grid lines out there to try to make some sense out of what would be otherwise a very chaotic farmer's field kind of situation. So the 2-point perspective I think is going to work for me. I went ahead and put some of the background elements down onto a grid line, and I kind of like how that was looking. So that's what I'm going to do going forward. One of the last challenges I want to talk about is that camouflage paint scheme. It looks super cool, but keep in mind that that camouflage paint scheme is designed to blend right in with the ground behind it. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge for me, so I'm going to have to strategically locate a couple of clouds and shadows within the painting so I can develop enough contrast in the areas that I need to and have that F4 popping off the canvas. So see if I can do that correctly and make that F4 pop like we'd like it to. That's about going to wrap up the game plan section here. It's time to move on, start moving some paint around. Let's get on into the high-speed time lapse. And there will be extra credit if you can name the background music. And here I'm using that 2-point perspective grid to organize the rice paddy fields while trying to align with the horizon out there. Add some clouds here so my F4 camouflage doesn't vanish into the background. I like the look of the terraces that I've seen, so I went ahead and added that to the foreground. My initial try at the shadowing. Thought the coloring was a little too much, so I went back and retouched that later on in the painting. And finally getting to the subject, I really enjoyed putting the Southeast Asia camo paint scheme on the F4. It's looking pretty good. I was fairly aggressive with the coloration of the exhaust. Maybe a little much so. Let me know what you think. The details are coming in, and I'm starting to like it. And what would Southeast Asia be without some nice face? The ones from the Dogtooth are coming in, and later on down the road I'm going to get some shadows on there, and that's going to give me some nice depth. Here comes that SA-2. There's surprisingly few examples of surf-to-air missiles exploding in flight on the internet. I did find a few to school off of. I think I like how it came out. Like I said previously, I'm trying to get a little bit of a debrief from some professionals. And I did get some comments on this one. I had a number of specific comments that I went ahead and did some of the real-time corrections with. Symmetry with the canopy. I had some square clouds to fix, a little bit of exhaust work. And then there's some other comments also touched on a little bit, but maybe I need to apply that more to further projects. Essentially, the background was a bit too dark, and I could use a little atmospheric depth to help that F4 pop off the canvas there. So a little bit more hazing and applying a wash. I did apply a little bit of a wash to help correct that a bit, but I didn't get too aggressive with it. I think I'm just going to have to apply that to my next canvas. And one of the comments included that I might be able to define the flight path of the F4 a little bit more with the exhaust and how that trails up to the airplane. I wasn't able to apply that to this canvas, but once again, we'll take a look at that for future use. Another comment included that this was a very ambitious composition. And I'm not quite sure if he's telling me I bit off more than I could chew, but anyway, I think it worked out okay. We talked about it before, trying to capture that whole missile from the ground all the way up to the point where it explodes. Anyway, that was a challenge for me, and I appreciate it getting me a positive comment on the composition. And for the last segment today here, I put together a recreation of the event as it may have gone down inside the cockpit of that airplane. You'll listen to the communications and some of the signals and raw gear warnings that were going off during the event. So this one takes a minute or two, but it might just get your blood pressure rising. Hope you enjoy it. Red ground, Kodak 415, commencing photo recon route out of Vietnamwar. Copy, Kodak. We got a good track on you. Report when you complete your run.
Okay, Don, we're approaching IP via tree. What's going on the nose? Stand by. 3, 2, 1, hack. Clock's running, cameras are running.
Copy. Doing 480 heading 095. Got 12-4 on the fuel. Railroad and roadway in sight.
Approaching checkpoint 1, railway bridge. 110 heading out of there for 1 minute 45 seconds.
Copy. In sight.
Okay, sounds like someone's looking at us. Showing the SA-2 on the scope, bearing 2 o'clock.
Copy. Got my eyes out.
Okay, missile alert. They're tracking us now. Missile alert.
Roger.
I got 30 seconds to checkpoint 2. Hopefully we're out of range.
Sure. I'm eyes out. I don't remember anybody briefing us on an SA-2 threat on this route.
Missile launch now. We got a missile launch. Missile launch around 1 o'clock on the scope.
Copy. Defending. No joy. Red ground. No joy. Kodak 415 is 15 miles east of Vietnamwar, defending SA-2. Red ground copies. We got your position marked.
Yeah, I got clouded. That's 1 o'clock.
Negative.
Got it, 1 o'clock.
Negative. I don't see it. I don't see it.
It's 1:30 now. 1:30 now. It's right there, Don.
Negative. Don't see it.
Sandy 25.
Okay, check
Stand
left.
by for coordinates. Start of the day, orange.
Reverse hard right. 2 o'clock.
Got it. Got it. Tell
One
me missile.
force.
I'm
Got
with
it?
missile. Roger.
Okay, that's your flight. Single missile launch. Don't see any others.
Kodak, red ground. What's your status?
Airspeed's 425. We're 14,500 feet.
Okay, hang on there. Here comes missile D. Roger. Here we go. Here we go. Over the top.
Estimating 2,000 feet. Looking good. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
How's it looking? How's it looking?
1,000 feet. Pass below us.
Roger.
Looking good. Okay, pass behind us. We're Looks like we're clear. Let's get out of here now.
Buckets off, 10-5 on the gas. We'll blow 600 knots. Let's get out of here. Ow.
Great ground. Kodak 15, flying 195, 400 feet. Missile defeated. Picture.
Whew, that's exciting.
Copy, Kodak. Don't let lost you there. You're green south for your RTB. Not today. Thanks for keeping an eye on us. We're bugging out. Flowing south below. See ya.
Nice work. That was a textbook Missile D. Those Nellis Weapons School guys would be so proud.
Yeah, that's what I was going for, all right. Make them proud. You got it. That's about a wrap on this one. I think it turned out pretty well, but I'm not going to rest on my laurels. I still have an awful lot to learn about painting aviation art. I do have a new lead on a new project that I'm really looking forward to chase down, and I hope you join me next time on Brush with Flight.